for your students and for your colleagues. Thank you to all of the folks who've been giving extra help for learning how to do this stuff online. So we're going to try to continue to do this in the usual way, which is to allow me and the vice chancellors and any of the other admin folks to give you updates on what we've learned over the last few days, and then we'll make some time for the questions that you have, and I'm sure there are some. So to begin, there's been a lot of sort of official communication coming out from various and sundry people, so I hope you're paying attention to those and that you are able to implement them as you see. So right now, under discussion is the credit, no credit option. The proposal has been forwarded to the faculty senates, and the plan is, right now, at least what I understand is in the proposal, is for students to be allowed to see their final grades, to make a determination at that time as to whether or not they want to keep that letter grade or change to no. My understanding is that this date for making that final decision by the students is going to be May 29th. My understanding is that there will be no need for faculty to be involved in implementing that change of grade option, but it's not clear to me right now as to how that actually is going to be implemented. What is the technological process, the technical process, whereby a student who has something other than the grade that they want change to credit, no credit. I don't know how that's going to be done, and I don't know that that's outlined in the option that is being prepared for the faculty. And I believe that Friday 4 o'clock is the timeline for the feedback to get back to the task force. Is that Susan is giving me the thumbs up? So yeah. So any faculty or any student affairs folks who have input on that, please get it back to the faculty senate by Friday 4 o'clock. By now, you know, summer session 1 and summer session 2 are going to be online only. If the situation changes, which would allow for the possibility of face-to-face classes in summer session 2, I think that determination will be made by May 15th. But right now, the plan is to go online only for summer session 1 and summer session 2. Please be reminded, everyone, that registration for fall and summer begins on Monday. Faculty who are engaged with their students, counselors who are engaged with their students over this time, please encourage them to sign up for fall classes and summer classes as meets their schedule. Please do encourage the students to continue with their education, especially in these otherwise uncertain times. We really don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have very high unemployment rates. The last time that happened, we had a surge in enrollments. And again, we don't know if that's what's going to happen this time again. But please do encourage the students to register. There's a bunch of stuff going on the chat lines with URLs, so you folks pay attention to what's going on there. If you need those, copy paste right now. Lecturer self-assessments will be due on May 1 instead of the April 1 deadline. And the requirement to have a peer evaluation included in the self-assessment will be waived if the lecturer didn't have a chance to get it done before spring break. So if there is no peer eval that's been done before spring break, the requirement to include it will be waived. So lecturers are expected to submit their self-assessments to their department chairs by May 1. There will not be any system-wide funding for ProctorU. There will also not be any college funding for ProctorU at this point. And yes, our testing center will be closed effective April 3rd, which is Friday. All faculty are encouraged to develop alternatives to proctored exams. Please understand that this is for the safety of the students as well as the safety of the testing center staff. We don't want to require students to come out to campus for any reason. It is exposure to potential COVID infection if students are not staying at home. If any of us is not staying at home, it is always a potential. We don't want to require students to show up for those reasons. Okay, I understand that Della Teraoka is compiling a document that is going to include all the different alternatives for testing. And that should be coming out from Erica's offices sometime very soon. So let me make way for Maria and Noel and Brian to update on their areas. Maria?
Hi, everyone. I think Luis covered most of it. What we're trying to do now is in the summer, 1 and 2 class availability, we're trying to make indications as to whether the course is going to be synchronous or asynchronous. It's going to be synchronous if it specifies the days and the times, and asynchronous would just be seen as TBA. So the chairs are working on that right now. I know that the fall schedule is also going to be up. I inquired about this yesterday at the Cacao meeting, and they told me that the fall schedule should look like the usual fall schedule with face-to-face and online. And I said, then what happens after that? And they said that if we are in the same situation, then we change all of those classes again online. So as much as possible, if you can offer your courses online for fall, do it now so that there's going to be fewer changes that's going to be happening in fall if we get to that point again. There's still no decision as to what will happen with the math and English placement exams. Since the high schools are now going to be basing their graduations to, I think, the high school students, the graduating students, their grades are going to be based on their performance before spring break. That's the grade that they're going to be getting. So they will, before they come to us, there's going to be like 6 months of nothing in the classroom, right? So we have to think of how we can place the students in the math and English classes. Ed Ready was one of the things that was being discussed, but at this point, there's no decision yet as to how that is going to take place. So maybe we should start thinking of, faculty, how do you want to do this? If you have any ideas on how to do this, but the system is still discussing this at this point. I think that's all that I have. Luis, you covered most of it.
Sorry, Maria, I took your stuff.
No, that's good.
Oh, I'm just scrolling through all the hats. You guys are outrageous. Thanks, Maria. Noel.
Okay, I just shared in the chat box the link to the urgent student relief funds. I also sent the email that was sent to students yesterday morning, shared it with the student affairs as well as the CAC listserv. So you could just forward it to people just so they know that students are being made aware of these funds. So a quick recap on these funds. Basically, these ones, the application will close at 4:30 today. And then I have a committee, about 3 people, who will do a turnaround in basically less than 48 hours and alert our cashier's office of about the students and the award they'll be receiving, and they'll be getting it on Monday if everything works correctly. Once that happens, the application opens up again, and basically sorry, the application actually never closes. It's on a rolling basis. Basically, the committee will be awarding on Friday and then reviewing apps again as needed. It'll keep going until the funds are all depleted. A couple of quick things with those funds. I think on the website it says anywhere between $100 to $500 will be awarded to students. Basically, that is just to set the students' expectations, so they're not requesting an outrageous amount, but based on each, I guess, each scenario and what they're submitting, each college can award more than $500. We also have financial aid working with us on this so that it doesn't negatively affect any financial aid packages to the students. So I know a lot of you have been asking what options are there for students. This is going to be one of the options in terms of funds that they can use.
Noelle, there's a question about what can the funds be used for?
So basically the funds, so I mean, once the student gets the refund, hopefully they use it for whatever reasons they submitted it for. Looking at the applications, I think we have maybe around less than 100 right now. A lot of them that I have seen was they lost their job because of the current situation and they can't pay for like their electricity bill or their internet bill. So basically a lot of them are using that kind of rationale. But right now, because there was such a quick turnaround, we couldn't create a lot of criteria because we needed to get this out. So we pushed around to actually figure out what students are requesting and then putting that information back out again. So what I would encourage is basically any of your students to just go ahead and apply because there really isn't, we really don't know what students will ask for. And especially in this situation, there's so many different things that could be happening that we didn't even want to try to put that stuff on the website. So to your students, basically tell them to apply for this first round. If they are denied the funds, we'll basically encourage them to apply again with more specific rationale that we'll be looking for. We'll only be doing that for this first go around on this first week. But like I said, students, assuming that there is no balance on their account, they'll get a refund check. If students do have a financial obligation owing to the college, most likely it'll go toward that balance first. So that's something we try to work around, but because of the system in place, I don't think we can do anything much with that one. So like I said, go ahead and encourage your students to apply. And also, if you guys have been working with students and you do want to write a letter of support for a particular student, go ahead and send an email to capfund@hawaii.edu. And basically, I'll kind of put it on the side. It's a generic email created specifically for these applications. So if you are working with particular students and are more aware of their situation and would like to just write an email of support for them, go ahead and just email that account with their students' information, and then we can attach that to the file. And I think that's pretty much the major one I have to share right now, other than registration is still going to move forward starting Monday.
Okay, thanks, Noelle. We'll allow for questions in a minute. Let's make sure that everybody gets a chance. Brian?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. 4 announcements. The first one is just a reminder to everyone, please remember to sign in via that link. It's been going very, very well. Very much appreciated those that are signing in. And as well as signing in, please make sure to sign out each day. What's happening is security is actually trying to follow up the best they can if it seems like individuals are still around campus. We haven't gone so far as other campuses have to create actual hours. Manoa, for instance, I believe they're operating from 8:30 to 5, and after 5 p.m. they're requiring everybody to be off campus. We haven't done that yet, but just for safety purposes, for your own safety, and just making sure we keep the campus secure, just make sure to sign out. That's the first one. Second one, just a reminder, business office purchasing cutoff deadline is April 10th. April 10th. It's next Friday. Mail-wise, mail schedule, we will have mail pickup and delivery Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Right now, we're dealing with a lot of one-offs, like, well, since I'm not going to be in, can you get it delivered here? If you're not going to be in, can I get it delivered there? it's getting very, very confusing. And the fear that we have, obviously, is that mail is going to end up in the wrong spot, undelivered. So if you're not there in your respective office, or in the say in Kalia, for example, if no one is there to accept the mail, we're just going to end up keeping it in the mail room. And Kevin is in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can call down to the mail room and request a pickup. And a final announcement is, life does go on, and this is still, we all need healthcare, especially now. So open enrollment period begins today and will end on May 15th. Now, in years past, you'd have to go in, you'd go to HR office, you'd drop off your paperwork. They're trying to do things all online. What's going to happen is Health Fund is actually going to be emailing all state employees who are part of the state's health insurance program. So again, that's going to be coming in from Health Fund. Make sure you keep an eye out for it.
Ryan, do you have the phone number for the mailroom? Does anybody have the phone number for the mailroom? Could you please put that on the chat line, please?
I will look it up.
9311. Got it. 9311.
Thank you again.
Louise, this is Carol. Can I jump in for just a minute?
Please.
Okay, for continuing education, I just wanted to report that the deans and directors are going to be holding a virtual meeting this Friday to talk about a couple of things. One is the development of or purchasing of online classes for continuing education, and also to discuss potential revenue models. Just like credit, we realize that we've got to go more online for summer and for fall. And then secondly, we're going to have a discussion about what we're expecting to be an increased demand for workforce development training. It'll be a preliminary discussion because I believe we're going to have, a longer meeting following on this preliminary one that we'll have. So just wanted to let people know who are on this call know that we're working on those things.
Yep. The workforce piece is going to come into play pretty quick, I think.
Yes.
Thanks, Carol. I know that Lisa Braddock and John Riz are on another Zoom now talking about Perkins funding. So let's see. Nava'a, would you like to say anything right now?
I don't have anything.
Okay, thanks. Maria, there was a question about whether students can be allowed to use their expired placement test scores. Possibly, is that a conversation that's being had, or Noelle, you might know that too?
I'm sorry, I've not had that conversation yet with anybody, but let's look into that one, because we're not, there's no AccuPlacer, there's really like nothing that we can use right now. So yeah, let's look into that one.
Okay, bring it up to your colleagues too, yeah?
I will.
Okay, Carl, are you on the line? Can you answer that question about Adobe eSign license? Oh, anyone from KELT on the line?
I'm not sure, well, unless Jamie wants to respond to it.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, I don't think Carl's here, but I can ask him about it.
Okay.
So I believe when it comes to the Adobe eSign, it's all an ITS purchase. It's a system-wide purchase. So if you need the Adobe, I think it's DC, or basically the Adobe Pro, which we all as a university employee have access to, you'll have to make the request via ITS. I don't have the link. I don't have the website.
Link just went up. Darsh put the link up, and Linda put something up about Hawaii State ETS.
Okay, so you just go in through that way. You'll make the request, and in a few days, they're being inundated right now, as you can imagine. ITS is, but they have to. They're filtering it for Adobe, and then they're working with Adobe to get you your license. Then in a few days, you'll get an email. You'll give you a link. You'll download it. It's easy. Just takes a little bit. It takes a few days.
Okay. Thanks, Darsh. Thanks for everybody who has answers when we need them. Other questions? There's something here from Miki about placement, a new instrument for English. Anybody know anything about that? I don't know.
I think that is the homegrown one that we've been trying to work on.
Mm.
So can we use that as a last resort?
Sally, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. There's a question about ability to benefit, and I'm not sure where that stands with these kind of homegrown tests. And Sally's asked the question for the second time, Sally. I was paying attention. Did mail leave campus this past Monday, the 30th? I don't know that answer. Brian, do you know?
I believe so, and I can double check. Though I'll call our mailroom or Sean right after the call today.
Okay,
I'll get back to you, Sally.
Other questions from any of the 138 people out there? Homegrown math too, yeah? Yeah. This is going full circle. Homegrown test. I think always the danger with a test is, you know, how do you know it's going to work? And all the testing of the test that has to happen so that you know whether the predictions are correct. So it's, I mean, there's an industry. That's why ETS is in business. It's not an easy thing to do. And Maria, I don't know if you guys at the VCAA table have talked about the federal government's requirement for ability to benefit. There are only a certain limited number of tests that have been approved for people to receive financial aid if they don't have a high school diploma. That's why we're limited to AccuPlacer and Compass before that and ACT and all those things, that there needs to be an approval. Otherwise, the students cannot be eligible for financial aid if they don't get placed by one of those approved tests, if they don't have a high school diploma. So just be mindful.
I'll try and bring it up later at the cacao meeting.
Okay. Yeah, the question about international students and what are we going to do for summer and fall? Well, summer is online right now, so international students will be able to sign up for online classes if they are continuing students. If Jerry's on the line, that's a concern for new students. So we are in discussions about trying to get banner codes for online only programs, because unless a program has a code that says this is an online program only, then students who register, even if all of their courses are online, but if the program is not designated online, then they're still mandated to prove TB, MMR, and do all of those other things. So we have started those conversations about whether or not the intensive English program that we have can be designated with that codes. In that intensive English program, they're not taking any other kind of, so they are de facto online if the courses are online. So yeah, that's a conversation. We have to be very mindful about the international students, because even if COVID-19 is done for fall, they may not want to travel anymore anyway. So we have to be very mindful of how we accommodate international students in an online environment.
Chancellor, can I speak a little bit to that?
Sure, Sean.
Some quick updates. We have been seeing a large number of the students that have been accepted for summer, newly accepted students at least, transitioning and deferring to fall. I guess that what we choose to do, whether or not we have certain number of courses offered in the fall, what types of volumes, which courses, is one, I guess, point of discussion too, because our largest incoming population for international students, our largest group of incoming students is for the fall as well, for international kids. So depending on what type of flexibilities we have in advancing the conversation regarding the TB MMR and the online coding will also impact whether or not those individuals will be able to potentially come for fall. At this point, the U.S. Embassy is still closed in Korea and in Japan. And so we know that it just opened in China about a week and a half ago or so, and they already are booked all the way through July. So if that same pattern happens with with Japan and Korea, then even though a student may be eligible to come here, if it's only offered in person, then we may be stuck with not being able to accept that student simply because they cannot come here physically. So I think that the discussion that we can have for our faculty, our administrators, and certainly our staff as well, and the processing and the coding back end is, I think it's a big consideration for us moving forward, especially with the largest population for international coming in that fall. The second thing is that we are moving forward, and this is more for information for everyone that's here, is we are moving forward with a mandatory international student health insurance requirement that must be purchased with a link through our site. And we are beginning the marketing campaign to get this information out to all the international students. The plan is quite comprehensive, and it's set up in such a way that students can go to urgent cares, and we won't have to. And there are even there are even interpreters that are being provided. There are mental health counselors that are being provided that they have access to, and so we will be able to lessen the burden on the staff and the faculty on the campus and redirect those inquiries to the appropriate resources in the community through this international students health insurance requirement. So, but keep in mind that students could purchase this now, but the effective date that the policy kicks in would be August 15th. We will get this information out. You'll be seeing it coming to our international students, but we'll also make sure we get this information out to the faculty and on the campus KCC bulletin and so forth.
Thanks. And to respond to Calvin's question, if the students are not here in country, in the US, they don't need to purchase the insurance. It's only if they come here physically that they will need to have the insurance. If they're still in Japan, no need.
Yes, that's true. And one difference is that we have had many of our students, our international students, are here during summer, but they are not enrolled in courses. And typically, we do not require them to enroll into in any sort of insurance right now. But that will change beginning in fall. So they will have the option to purchase a semester worth, or they can purchase one full year. But it's mandatory. Students have covered.
Thanks. I see a question. Thank you, Sean. I don't know where your computer is, but it's awfully windy where you are. Because it's all like this. Your picture. Oh, nice view. That's nice. Cheryl has a question about can we offer an option for students who place in either Math 10388 or Math 178 and would like to take the course in the summer? I'm not sure, Cheryl, what option you're talking about. You want to explain?
Yeah, well, because we don't, I mean, either if we offered the 78 or 88 and like maybe created it as an option to be connected to a course, so people who don't need it don't have to take it, but those who need it can do the 78 and 100 or 88 and 103. I'm getting those kinds of questions for students who have existing placement scores and some were planning to retest but weren't able to prior to the shutdown of the placement testing center. And in some cases they're international, so I think not that that's always the case, but I think a lot of them have stronger math skills and their placement tests reflect, because we talk about it and I ask them about their different their math backgrounds, and a lot of them sound like they've probably gotten to at least a trig level or higher in some cases, but they just don't score well so in their first attempt because of the English.
Amy, you want to come on board and let folks know that you weren't planning any co-recs for the summer? Amy, you want to unmute your mic, Amy? No, huh? Maybe she cannot. Amy says she wasn't planning to have any co-recs.
Or even if we don't do a correct, are we open to allowing the student to register for the class and get additional tutoring? I'm just throwing out options.
I don't see a lot of response on that one. Amy, okay. I think you, Amy, you might want to have a conversation with other folks offline and just see what the interest is or what the need is. Maybe check in with some counselors and see what they're hearing from students, including Cheryl, of course. Okay, thanks, John, for the health insurance thing. Okay, great. Any questions that I haven't? I don't know what Alfie's talking about. What bottle? I don't know.
It's been a rough couple weeks, man.
Okay.
Sorry, Louise, can I address, I think, one of Jamie's questions, and I think a lot of the other concerns coming up.
Okay, and I just see that Carl wants to say something too after. Go ahead, Noel.
Okay, so I see that Mickey already responded and Deneen responded, so thanks for that. I think some other advice just to our instructional folks as we kind of go through this time, a lot of the students might not be responding, and I think we just need to recognize the current situation everybody's in. And I think for a lot of the students, college has become the third or fourth priority on the list, and they probably won't be responding as much as we'd like for them to do. I think trying to call them on different phone numbers, we have tried in the past, and it doesn't always work out as successfully. My best advice is to reach out when you can, but also realize that some of them might have already checked out. As we're looking, trying to look at this situation from different angles, we'll try to put together different support campaigns. We'll see what happens with this no credit option to see if students are able to take advantage of that. I don't know what it looks like, but I think for student affairs and our conversations around CASAL, the biggest thing is trying to see how we can mitigate the academic impacts of the students. So if students aren't responding because they have a lot of stuff going on, or maybe they don't have access to Wi-Fi or internet, so they can't access emails, to see if we can do something for those students, either with that withdrawal, the late withdrawals, or the credit or non-credit. But I think the biggest thing with that is we actually need the students' permission. So for the instructors, do as much as you can, but also realize that some of it's kind of beyond our hands right now, and hopefully we'll come up with a better plan later on of how to actually address all of these students. So I definitely hear all of you and kind of understand the support we want to give our students. But I think right now people just kind of deal with their real lives right now. So I appreciate trying to reach out, and we'll keep trying to reach out, but I also don't want to put too much pressure on you guys, as if people are not responding, that is your sole responsibility. Because I think the campus is trying as best we can, but it's just an unprecedented time. So thank you though for bringing that up.
Okay. Before Carl comes on, I just want to address the credit, no credit thing. There are consequences for a change of grade to credit, no credit for all kinds of different reasons, degree requirements, elective programs. So all of those are being considered in that proposal for the policy. We will need to change many of those policies that we have currently about what can be credit and what can be not, and what cannot be non-credit. But the health programs are very aware of this, and there will be those discussions to make sure that students are not harmed if they choose to do that credit, no credit thing. Okay, Carl.
I wanted to let everybody know that information security threats are on the rise. I know I keep saying this, but it's increasing more and more during this COVID-19 event. Some of you may have already seen Jody Ito, Chief Information Security Officer for the University of Hawaii, talking on the morning news about this. If you have not, basically, we're seeing an increased level of attacks coming into our network. What SELT has been doing is going around campus, turning computers and other devices off. We started doing this yesterday. Devices being left on is not going to be allowed. It's posing a huge security risk for our campus. Computers left unattended, left on overnight, those kinds of activities. I'm begging and pleading that you please make sure you turn things off. I know most of you are staying home, which is great, but those of you that are coming on campus using equipment, you can turn them on, that's fine, use them for the day. But I do ask that when you leave, you turn everything off. We'll be doing periodic sweeps throughout the campus to make sure we can minimize our exposure to this new threat.
Okay, I've got to back up. Thank you, Carl. Mickey says that there's an increasing number of students who would like to retake the class at no charge when offered in person. They can always sit in on a class, but they're not going to have an opportunity to sit in on a class and get a grade for it the second time around. That's equivalent to doing refunds, and we're not doing refunds. So the answer, Mickey, I'm sorry, is that they're welcome to sit in on the class, but they're not going to be retaking it for a letter grade. Noel, can you say anything to that? I don't think I'm saying it wrong, but.
No, I mean, I think this is just a broader issue of just the current situation our students are in. We're trying to look at creative ways to somehow help students out through this situation. But in terms of being able to offer essentially free classes in the future, I'll still keep having that conversation at the system. But as of right now, it's a no. Until it becomes otherwise, or the schools are getting really creative how we can do that. I'll share that once it's feasible. But I think for now, the current answer is no.
Okay. Thanks everybody for chipping in all these answers to things. It's great. Okay, Zoom bombing. Yes, I heard about that. There are resources available there too. Thanks, Jamie, for putting stuff there. Let's see. If you don't already, you guys, if you don't already subscribe to the DE newsletter, you truly should. Jamie, if you could put something up there that would allow people to subscribe. You don't have to be a DE instructor to really make use of all that information. It's terrific. Can we have an email that says we let people sit in our class that haven't registered? I don't think you need to have an email to do that. I think that's a question of between you and the student. We don't encourage people to sit in on classes for which they're not registered for liability reasons. If the ceiling falls down on a student in the class and they're not registered, there's no record of the student, then there are those issues. So it's not like we make a broad invitation, but that's on a sort of individual case-by-case basis, Rich. Yeah, you've heard otherwise for those kind of reasons, I think. Yeah, we don't encourage, but I think I have known people to do that, let's say.
Louise, can I throw a question in?
Of course, Dave.
And you might have covered this already as I ran to the closet to get my hat, because I realized it's hat day, so I might have missed this.
I did too.
Huh?
I missed the thing too. I had to run to my closet.
Yeah. Anyway, but great hats. Just can we clear up? We got a message from UHPA and Don Straney about who needs to sign in for the COVID-19 work at home. And this latest one is indicating that instructional faculty. So are we all on the same page with that? Because the last time we talked, we had converted all instructional faculty to having done that. So are we following the directions, obviously, of UHPA and Don Straney, I would assume?
Of course.
Okay.
Jamie, you want to put the the URL for your news. Oh, there it is. I'm so sorry. I see it. My bad. Other questions? Thanks, Jimmy. The campus is eerily quiet. Those
Louise?
Yes.
It's Cheryl. Just to follow up on Dave's question. So we had a little bit of this conversation with Noyao yesterday with the student services and counseling staff regarding who should be putting that, you know, the COVID leave papers or whatever the online request in. So everybody who's non-instructional faculty and staff should still continue, but not instructional?
Continue what? You left that question.
Put in the leave, the COVID-19 leave.
That's correct. Instructional faculty do not need to go online to check the boxes on COVID leave, but non-instructional faculty do need to go online and check the box for COVID leave. Yes.
Okay.
Hi, me again. Department chairs, where do we fit in on that?
You're like mutants. You're you teach and then you don't teach.
You like to use the word hybrid, but thank you.
Well, there you go. That's a much nicer word. That's a much nicer word. So department chairs were not singled out for any particular reason. The demarcation in the UPA UH memo that came out was about instructional faculty versus non-instructional faculty. And I don't really know where the DCs fit in that. There's not been anything specific for department chairs.
So how should we proceed?
I would think since the majority, for most department chairs, the majority of your work is non-instructional, I would suggest that you go in there and check the box on online COVID-19. It doesn't cost you anything in terms of your leave at all. It's not charged against vacation, it's not charged against sick. It's just a form of reporting.
Can I just say something that's related to the Zoom bombing question that was posted earlier?
Sure.
If you have used Zoom in your classes prior to this week, the sharing setting for everybody was set so that everybody, including your students, could share. But we've got something from I think it's UHITS, that said that that has now been switched so only the host shares automatically. So if you want your students to share with you, you're going to have to change that option once you're in a meeting. And I just think I should tell people about this because it's different than it was last week. So if you're wondering why my students can't share, it's because you have to turn that setting on. And I think there was a post in the news and announcements, and it's probably also in the DE newsletter that came out.
And Sean said Zoom did a patch. I hope you guys know what that means because I can't.
Well, I think it means that this is set for everybody. So the Zoom won't behave like it did last week. So if you're thinking the students are just being stubborn and not sharing, it's not their fault. It's something you need to fix. And the article in News and Events told you how to fix it.
Okay. And Yo-Yo just said that Zoom has turned on the waiting room feature by default also. Thank you for everyone's input on this. It's great. Other questions, others? Yeah, Census Day. I filled out mine. Very easy online. Anything about the system level, about the stimulus money? Not yet. No discussions that I've been part of. I don't know, Brian, have the VCASs been talking about stimulus money?
No, not at all. there's a lot of importance in making sure. I know there's just been a lot of talk and a lot of heartache about the COVID-19 work from home option for your leave and so on and so forth. So all those different things are going to come into play. We've been asked to fill in a whole bunch of reports. I've been asked to fill in a whole bunch of reports regarding revenue loss, the increased costs that we've incurred because of the COVID threat. But you know, it's just important that we just keep doing that, crossing the I's, dotting the T's, and hopefully they'll be fair and they'll figure out a way to dole it out when the time comes.
Okay. Maria, you want to respond to Tony Silva's asking about the synchronous versus asynchronous? Maybe Maria stepped away.
No, I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think it's just the scheduled hours, because a lot of the work that's going to be done by the students are going to be online anyway. So even, you know, like if you were going to give a lecture for an hour and a half, I don't think the students are really going to be there for an hour and a half, you know, like following everything. So activities can follow, you know, like after the Zoom meeting or whatever, or synchronous. And so I think there's no X hours that we are actually mandating to be, you know, placed on class availability. So that would be something that the faculty would be talking, like telling the students once they start the class on how much, you know, time they are supposed to be working on this particular course for the week. It's usually same as the face-to-face, but with all the activities that they have to put into.
I think it would be important though for faculty to be as precise as possible if they are going to require students to be in a place at a time, because students might be taking more than one online course, and if faculty are requiring people to be in a place at a time and it's the same place or the same days and the same times, then there'll be a conflict for the students. So I think it would just be fair to the students if you could be more specific.
Yeah, I think the faculty should work with, you know, you should work with your chairs so that that would be inputted in banner so that the students can actually see how many hours they have to be like in class, in quotes.
Yes.
Zoom meeting.
Yes, and the assumption, Ben is right. The assumption is if it's an online class, it will be asynchronous, but that may or may not be the case for many online classes that maybe previously had not been online that are going to be remote, but using Zoom at a particular day and time. And if students are signing up from Japan, that will need to be said specifically since that time difference might impact whether or not they take the class. Other questions, other thoughts? Gigi. There are peer tutors ready to support students. And sometimes the peers work that much better, you're correct. Yes, it's true. We can make the statements and they may not read it, but if at least we've made the statement, we have informed them, and that's our due diligence. Thank you, Susan. Yep, there's a lot of discussions, Sean, about how we might help students change careers. There's lots of people who are going to be laid off, out of work, looking for something a little bit more secure. And so there's lots of people thinking about that, and we are being approached by the department DLIR, Labor and Industrial Relations, to provide that kind of training. Not from the credit side of the house as much as from the non-credit side. Carol is right. Oh, Shannon, that's a good point. So Maria, when you guys are talking about where those comments go, Shannon is reminding us that the comments may not be so visible in STAR.
What the what the chairs are doing now is, for a particular class, they put like www to indicate that it's online, right? And then they put Tuesday, Thursday, let's say 9 to 10. So that is synchronous. And then the asynchronous classes, it would just show as TBA.
Okay.
So would
that work, Shannon?
Putting it in the comments, usually the students would not read that.
Yeah.
We realize that. And it's adding more work now for whoever's putting it in banner when we only have a few days left to do this.
Yes. Okay. Other thoughts? Needs to be stated in this. Thank you, Susan. Syllabus is after the fact, though. We want to make sure that students know it also before the fact, so before they even sign up. So I think the approach that Maria folks are going to use to put it next to the www part or the TBA part makes it a little bit better, I think. Other thoughts?
Can I say something?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Go, Maria.
No, I would just like to encourage the faculty and also the staff to like when you see students or email them, just ask them how they're doing. It makes a big difference. We've received several emails already from students who've said, just the faculty emailing us, checking on us, finding out how we're doing makes a very big difference. So please keep on doing that. It really helps, especially during these times.
Thanks, Maria. Shannon is suggesting that maybe a student-wide email would help, or a video, just for the synchronous versus asynchronous, Shannon? Is that what you're suggesting? You want to come in and let us know what you're suggesting? Yes, she says. Okay, well, who wants to volunteer? TK is on it. Okay. All right. Thank you. Now we're all going to have to wear our hats for the rest of the day because we all have hat hair now. See, so this is not good. Other thoughts? Hearing none. At 1:54, we're going to call the meeting. Okay. Then our next rendezvous is Friday at 1 o'clock. Please take care of yourselves. Check in with your students, check in with your colleagues. This is very isolating to be at home and not being with people. We're very much people. So it is a challenge for us. So please do reach out to your colleagues, just check in on how you guys are doing. And we will continue to iron out all of these different pronouncements that come out, different changes as the context changes. I know how much you guys are putting in and how much this is a challenge for us all. Thank you, you guys, and we'll see you on Friday. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.